The animation studio that brought you beloved family classics has now introduced a streaming service, Disney+. And now, from the same community that brought you Reactaholics podcast, comes a new show where we discuss Disney+ content old and new. Disney+Pals, starring AJ Heath, Darth Potter, a.k.a. Will Santiago, Scott Meyer, a.k.a. Callum McCritchie, and of course your main host, Dr. Neeltopus, a.k.a. Neil Michael Burris. Welcome to Disney+Pals.
Eddie's like, if you touch my wife, I'll kill you. And then Ramsey goes, how fantastic. You're going to kill a ghost. And I liked that. I was like, ooh, Ramsey. There's that troll behavior I love.
Also, I think we forgot to mention that Gracie seems to think that Eddie Murphy's wife is his long-lost lover, which is why...
No, we mentioned that.
We mentioned that, okay. I was just double-checking.
But, and here's the scene coming up where just give me a second. There's more to talk about with that. Ramsey grabs Eddie by his neck, throws him out the window, he lands on his car, and he's just stuck out there for a minute. And this is where we get what I think is the best scene in the movie, where Gracie tells the wife, who he thinks is Elizabeth, the story. And he tries to, remind her, and he, reveals to her he's a ghost in the best way possible. He's, talking, and he's saying this dialogue of, I loved you, but then you killed yourself, and I never understood why. And it's just very haunting words. And in the background, the ghosts of the dancers appear. We know these from the ride. We know these from the intro. And it is horrifying. It is just such horrific imagery. That is so cool. It's the best scene in the film where he's just screaming at her, pleading with her, begging her to remember and be who he thinks she is. And they're just dancing in the background, these ghostly figures, and she's looking at them, and she's finally realizing what's going on. And I gotta say this should have been the whole movie.
Yes.
The whole movie should have been this guy thinking that his wife, his lover, was still alive. It should have been just her at the mansion experiencing everything. Get a good Madame Leota.
You know what, Neil? I think you're right, because if it would have been Gracie taking Eddie Murphy's wife on a tour of the mansion, as he reveals more about himself and the mansion, and as ghosts start to become more clear, it would have been just like the ride in that case.
It would have been so cool if they managed to somehow get it in one shot.
I also thought that one of the things they should have done, let's say we keep the movie how it is. Don't change the script.
Right.
For the most part. One of the things they should have done was, instead of him trying to sell the house, their car should have broken down like a classic ghost story. And they should have had to go to the mansion for sanctuary. And then Eddie should have tried to acquire the deed and sell the house. That would have been more annoying to the wife. And we could have had a creepy line from Ramsey where he's like, we've been expecting you. Even though they weren't even going there.
Yeah, and also, not only that, but it would have made Eddie Murphy seem more likable. He's not he honestly was going to spend time at the lake with his family, but it's oh no, he tricked them, and now he's going to this house and says no, he honestly meant to go to the lake, but then they got caught up in a storm or whatever. See, that would have made him actually a likable person, kind of.
And all these passionate people would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those stupid writers.
And their damn mouse.
I was about to say this was probably the studio heads. I'm willing to bet they probably had a good Haunted Mansion movie, but knowing how Eisner be, he probably screwed it up now.
I looked up the actress's name. Her name is Marcia Thomason. Marcia, I'm so sorry, because your acting is so good in the scene. You should have been the main character. Forget Eddie Murphy. The movie should have been about you exploring this mansion. It could have been so good. It could have been so good.
It could have been like Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, where she doesn't understand what's going on, but Gracie is leading her through everything, and then slowly she's learning about it. I gotta say it. If you take Eddie Murphy out of the movie's better.
My.
Like this, I do think Eddie Murphy is the worst part of this movie, and that's really unfortunate because Eddie Murphy is a good actor.
We still love you, Eddie.
A funny guy.
He's still a good actor. I mean, freaking Dolomite Is My Name came out last year. He still got it.
Eddie Murphy is a very talented guy, and yet he's the worst part of this movie. And you can see the potential, and it's just squandered. There's so much. This could have been, like, not even kidding. Forget a good movie. This could have been great. This could have been a classic. This could have been just as good
as Pirates of the
Caribbean. And that dancing scene with the dancers and him trying to tell her, that shows me this could have been great. And it's just not. And it's sad.
And I should also note that after watching The Haunted Mansion, I swiftly went to watching Mushu. Eddie Murphy is significantly funnier there.
Yeah. Eddie Murphy is better in Mulan. But let's get down to business.
To defeat
Eddie Murphy.
Let's get down to business to have
a creepy image,
wedding.
Significantly less creepy but it's still pretty creepy, yeah, it's me, is she runs away, and since he's a ghost, he just teleports to the rooms as she runs in them, and he's following her without even moving, and she locks herself in a room, and he's like, it's not Elizabeth, it can't be Elizabeth, and Ramsey is like, no, I'm racist, so I'm pretty sure they all look the same. And he gets in there and he's like, hey, lady, just realize, if you want to see your children again, I recommend marrying the dead dude. And yeah, she's blackmailed because of her children. And she agrees. She's gonna marry Gracie. What was that, Will?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, Callum, what was that? Were you saying something?
No, you carry on.
Yep.
Oh my God, I'm just hearing voices.
You're
Guys,
hearing
I'm haunted. I'm haunted.
Even though you didn't go on the ride, a ghost still followed you home.
It's Eddie Murphy. He's trying to get me.
Dun 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 dun.
All right. Eddie Murphy, I really liked you in the whatever that movie is about the wacky scientist. The one who turns into Buddy Love.
The Nutty Professor.
The Nutty Professor.
Someone please make an organ cover of Axel F.
Eddie Murphy, coming to America and trading places.
But you're bad in this movie, Eddie. And to prove that, Eddie's just sitting next to his car, and Jennifer Tilly, Madame Leota, comes up, and she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I am just going to sit here, has my children and my wife die. And Madame Leota's like, don't do that. And then Eddie goes, you know what? You're right.
Dun, 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 dun.
So then we get another stupid scene, because for every beautiful, gorgeous scene in this movie, we got to get Eddie doing something dumb. So he straps Leota into his car with a seatbelt, and he rams the mansion. And I got to admit, as a kid, I thought that was cool, just like how he was done with it, so he rams it with his car. But we get an action shot of them screaming and going, ah, as the car crashes. And we get that for Leota. And then, just to spit on the character more, once the car crashes, Eddie runs out to go help everybody. And Leota is stuck in the car against an airbag. You know, I'm not going to pretend that Madame Leota is the best Disney villain or anything. But in what you see for the ride, she's a very creepy character. And she's very ominous and mysterious. And I really hate how this movie just went, we're not going to do that.
It's a family movie.
I'm just saying, what if Leota was like in league with the villains or something? Or maybe if she is going to be a good guy, at least have her character be very anti the villains. Make her reasoning for wanting the curse to be lifted because she wants to stay in the mansion alone and all the other ghosts are gone. Because as we see at the end, Leota doesn't go with them.
And neither do the singing statues.
So Eddie Murphy learns how to use a mace and takes out a bunch of suits of armor and saves his kids.
'Tis but a flesh wound.
Other friends to the ride and a piss poor because apparently Eddie Murphy can fight trained knights.
He gets in there. And of course, because it's a movie back towards the 2000s era, if there's any reason these two shall not be wed, please speak now or forever hold your peace. Yeah, I've got a few objections. Eddie, it's a cliche of the times and you did it pretty well. You know what? I'm not going to make fun of you for this one.
I will make fun of him for it because they did that same thing in another Eddie Murphy movie, which some of you may know as Shrek.
They did do it in Shrek.
That was Shrek who did it.
First?
That wasn't Donkey.
I know.
Well, maybe Donkey held some resentment about that. Maybe Eddie Murphy really wanted to read the line.
Bottom line is, it was still an Eddie Murphy movie. It still counts.
Wait a minute. Actually, if you remember that scene, Donkey is teaching Shrek how to say it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
you want to
actually,
hold
and
her?
then,
Please.
and then Shrek
Squeeze her.
just ignores it. So what it is like maybe Donkey was like, man, I don't like how he did that. In my next movie, I'll do it right. This makes the movie better.
Thank you for making that more tolerable.
So his wife, I have her name right here, Sarah. Her name is Sarah Evers. And apparently Eddie's character's name is Jim Evers.
Because we're going to make you happy for evers and evers.
She has a vial of wine, but it has poison in it. And she's just about to drink it as Eddie comes in. And Eddie just goes for it to try to fight the ghosts. And then the ghost points a sword at him, and then I, as a human, have to debate the logic. Is the sword gonna stab him? Is that a ghost sword? They've all still got their clothes, so I have to assume their clothes are
I think
ghost clothes.
they can be able to carry certain objects, like, I don't know, the food plates and stuff like that, and swords. I mean, why not?
And that one ghost, the maid, she made cookies. So they cook.
Yum, 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 yum,
I
yum.
just don't understand anything.
They're setting up their merchandise shop.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm looking at the site. So the maid is actually, I believe, named Rachel Harris. That's her actress's name. And her character name is Miss Coleman. So they're there too. Wallace Shawn is actually the organist in this scene. And then he reads the note and he realizes Elizabeth didn't kill herself. Ramsey did it. And then Ramsey's like, yeah, I'm totally a racist murderer douchebag. But I'm the villain of this movie, so I'm going to say our one swear word, burn in hell. And then fire comes out of the fireplace.
Apparently Ramsey, in addition to being ghost, just has demonic powers that the other ghosts in the movie don't have.
Well, he's a murderer, so he was going to go to hell. So maybe he made like a deal with Satan and became a demon. I don't know.
Yeah, but then the movie at this point just kind of turns into like a final boss battle in a video game.
But it doesn't. It doesn't. Because all that happens is the fire comes out and you think, oh, it's going to go after Eddie. But then instead it just goes after the bad guy and drags him to hell. And then Eddie just gets his foot caught. But this is cool because it gives Gracie a chance to prove he's not a bad guy because he's the one who saves Eddie.
Yes.
Eddie gets up. He's fine. They shake hands. And then he looks to his wife. Uh-oh, she did drink the poison. And she's dying. But then the ghost ball from earlier comes down. And it's revealed the ghost ball was Elizabeth, which I didn't think was a bad twist.
Hold on, but I have several questions about that. But explain this next scene, and then I will rant about this problem.
I think Callum and I will have the same rants.
Well, what happens next is, Elizabeth possesses Sarah. And the dress is beautiful, by the way. And then Gracie and Sarah, not Sarah, this is Elizabeth at this point, embrace, and they do a joke where it's like, oh, he's not really kissing your mom. And then she leaves. They are all accepting. Oh, and Elizabeth does mention Gracie had to know the truth of what happened in order for the curse to like be lifted. Which, do they ever really go into detail, like what is the curse? They talk a lot about how to solve the curse, but they're never like, oh yeah, here's the curse. Did everybody die?
No, the root of the curse is that
you
need to uncover the truth about racism. That's how you break the curse.
Yes. You just reveal that General Zod is a racist, and then world peace. That's how it works.
All minorities should kneel before Zod.
You will kneel. I'm a ghost, but I'm also a murderer and a racist.
They should have elected me instead of Obama.
I don't know what you just said. Go ahead, Will.
I think I know what questions you have, because I have them too. Why didn't Elizabeth, if she can just come back, like, why? Because she's a ghost too. Why can't she just, like, tell Gracie, hey, by the way, Ramsey killed me?
Exactly!
Now that I'm thinking about it, if she was a ghost ball that was just always there, why didn't she, as a ghost ball, present herself to Ramsey and then just lead him to where the chest is? And if Leota knew where the key was, it feels like they could have solved this curse without Eddie.
Yeah, she could have told Wallace Shawn.
I mean, to be fair, maybe they couldn't hold the key.
Neil, a few minutes ago, we literally went on this whole thing about how ghosts can hold stuff.
Well, yeah, but the ghosts don't go with them into the mausoleum, so I don't know. Maybe the zombie creatures eat ghosts.
Why didn't they go into the mausoleum? Oh my goodness, this is raising so many more questions.
I still want to know who buried all these people.
Who put them in all those coffins?
Is it the one human character in the ride, the keeper and his dog?
Sorry,
I don't know anything.
Maybe it was the Crypt Keeper.
I want to remind everybody, my big argument was, and I quote, there is a good movie in here trying to get out. Just because there's a great movie inside of it does not mean it as a whole is a good movie.
They should have thought more carefully about the curse. Maybe they should have had the crystal ball as the villain, as she's the twist villain or something like that. She prevents the ghost from doing certain things, like going to the mausoleum, going into the chest, preventing the lady from revealing herself from her ghost form. That would make so much more sense. But instead, for whatever reason, she never indicates to Gracie what happened, just stays as a ghost ball. But why? Why?
Look, there has to be a reason why she didn't do it, because I can't for the life of me think that any writer who is paid for their work is dumb enough to not have a reason. Like,
you think they would give that reason to the audience?
I don't. Yeah,
it could just be that they just didn't give a shit. Like, it's a movie based on theme park ride. Who cares?
I'm not. I said dumb, I was being a little extreme. I'm not insulting these writers. They probably did better things than this, but this is a plot hole, ladies and gents.
Yeah, it's like, they probably didn't care. They're like, who cares? It's not like movies based on theme park rides could ever spawn billion-dollar franchises.
You'll remember today as the day you almost made a pretty decent movie.
You best start fixing your ghost stories, you writers. You ruined one.
All right. So, here we are into the movie. Good old Eddie Murphy gets his wife back. Everybody's safe. He has a new lease. He's like, we're going to go straight to the lake. Next time I say we're going to the lake, we are going to the lake.
20 minutes, tops.
There I am just like, Eddie, your wife almost died and tried to marry a ghost. The lake doesn't matter. That's not what's important. Just say you love your wife and hug her. She could have died, Eddie.
At this point, just count yourself lucky you're not getting a divorce.
Oh yeah, that's like the sequel where it's like, you took us to a haunted mansion. But
whilst the singing heads are annoying them in the background.
Speaking of the singing heads annoying people in the background, Eddie receives the deed to the mansion from Gracie. And I do like this line too, where Gracie is like, keep it, sell it, do whatever you wish of it.
Make a theme park
It
right
doesn't
out of
mean
it.
anything to me anymore. And then he just leaves, and all the ghosts leave.
To the
And
heavens.
another thing Tony Goldmark said, did they not want to make a sequel? Like, they completely ended the story here. There's no room for a sequel.
Yeah, they all a happy sailings off to the heavens, including William Shawn and the waitress, except for some reason the gypsy and the crystal ball and those singing heads, for whatever reason.
Because apparently Frollo is right and gypsies can't go to heaven.
Disney, we're kind of racist ourselves.
Don't allow these gypsy vermin to fix the plot holes of this movie.
Santa Maria. No, it will have its time. It will have its time. So that leads to a scene where they're clearly going to the lake, and the singing heads are singing. Leota is part of the family now. And of course, happy endings for all. That was the Haunted Mansion.
And go to and spend the afterlife in any haunted mansion but this one because this movie sucks.
Uh-huh. It blows.
An incredible mix of meh.
To be fair, I think it would just be a meh movie for me too, Callum, if I couldn't clearly see the potential. You look at the chairs, you look at the mansion, this could have been awesome.
Classic.
It could have been a classic. It could have been one of the Disney greats, and instead, it's an Eddie Murphy comedy.
And let us specify here, it's a bad Eddie Murphy comedy.
A very bad one. The Haunted Mansion shouldn't be an Eddie Murphy comedy at all.
Guys, I have a question to ask. But this
Yes.
This was meant to be a comedy, right? Because I didn't find myself laughing that much.
It was supposed to be a comedy.
Yes, Callum. It was supposed to be funny. Notice that dramatic silence right there? That's how we feel on the inside.
There's just some things that are just beyond words.
It's going to be okay, Will. It's going to be okay. We're talking about the ride here in a minute. Talking about the ride here.
Can we talk about it now? At this very second?
We got to talk about the impact of the movie and the ride.
What impact? This movie was forgotten about as soon as...
I'll tell you what impact.
Oh, no.
Right as soon as this happened, our Lord and Savior, Guillermo del Toro, stood up and said, you know what? That was a bad movie. That movie. I can't say his name. I have a speech impediment.
Guillermo del Toro.
I can't say his name. He stood up and he said, I'll make a better one. And that's still on the back burner. But please, good Lord, let that happen.
Please.
Let Del Toro make Haunted Mansion.
Oh.
We already couldn't get Silent Hills. Let us at least have Guillermo del Toro's Haunted Mansion.
That could be great.
Oh,
that could be really
God bless
There's still
you.
so much potential.
God bless you, Guillermo del Toro. You're doing justice even by suggesting that idea.
As a kid, I did like this movie, but I didn't love it. My cousin was obsessed with it, so because of that, I was like, yeah, it's okay. But as an adult, I can't watch this movie without just thinking of what could have been. And the problem with that is, it shows you what it could have been. If this movie was an Eddie Murphy comedy and nothing else, like a bad Eddie Murphy comedy, that would have been one thing. But since it shows me this horrific imagery, like the graveyard scene and the dancing, I'm just so bummed out that they didn't focus on what made the movie great. Or the ride great, for that matter. This movie isn't great. It has great scenes, and it has just wonderful imagery, but it's a bad movie. And Jennifer Tilly sucks as Leota.
And not even her after credit scene will do her much justice, I take it.
No. She's not going to be in the Avengers.
Jennifer Tilly as a head in a ball fighting Thanos.
I had seen 9,740,000 different futures. How many do we win? The one with Jennifer Tilly in a ball. What? Wait, what? Dr. Strange, are you okay? All right. What do you guys think?
I just had a funny
Some of
image.
the fun-
I just had a funny idea. Someone edit the gypsy in the ball's head and just replace it with put it on Mysterio's head.
You know what? I'll do it. You're seeing it on screen right now, ladies and gents. Look at that.
That was beautiful.
Oh man, can't believe it.
That was worth
But
it.
now, do you guys have anything to say about the impact or final thoughts about the movie before we move on to the good part?
A ride with such deep lore. You turned it into a generic ass family comedy. I hope these people know what shame is.
I think nobody is celebrating this movie. I think that should be clear. Go ahead, Cal.
No words. Some things are just spiritual with the words that are described. Sometimes you just can't let it out physically. You just gotta feel it.
I think I know exactly what words to say. Take it, Ramsey. This movie can burn in hell.
Hellfire, dark
Now-
fire.
Dark fire.
Now, get Ramsey out of here before he tries to kill my Cuban ass.
Oh my!
I'm off to go do racist things in space.
What?
Maybe I'll take on Krypton.
All right.
I'll take out the
Goodbye,
Green
Ramsey.
Lantern. He's voiced by Phil Lamar.
Phil Lamar.
Okay, ride. Let's talk about the ride, please.
Ah, yes. Let's move on to the good part. Now, Will, I think you're going to take the lead here, but obviously, any fame that went to this movie was because it was based on this wonderfully iconic ride of 99 happy haunts.
999.
999, my mistake.
But there's room for 1,000. Any volunteers?
Oh, by the way, this one more thing I want to bring up about the movie, because this applies to the ride. It applies to the ride. The ghost host is freaking creepy. I'll talk about the ghost host for a minute, because he's scary. He's intimidating. And when he says the line of, "There's always my way," and the freaking hanging body comes down, and it's revealed, oh my gosh, his way is dying. It's cool. And when Wallace Shawn is like, "There's always my way," I'm just like, fuck. Stop it.
Maybe you should just get Frank Sinatra to do it.
Sinatra?
There is always my way.
Ride.
Ride.
Okay. So, it's hard to, it's going to be hard for me to talk about this ride and everything great about it without going on, a bajillion different tangents that's going to last, 2.5 hours. So, I'll just try and say what I can. What makes the Haunted Mansion so great is that it came at sort of this golden age of Imagineering, which isn't to say that this was the peak of Imagineering. Obviously not. But it was this time, this was the era that defined what Imagineering was and what it was capable of. The first couple years of Disneyland's existence, those were the beta test years. But 1959 to 1969, that was the golden age. You had Tiki Room, It's a Small World, Submarine Boy, Matterhorn Bobsleds, Pirates of the Caribbean, all these great rides that push the boundaries of theme park technology and storytelling, and the culmination of it all was the Haunted Mansion, which perfectly has this storyline that's very, very ambiguous. There's a bajillion different fan theories about what the actual story is. None of which is entirely right, but that's what makes it so much fun. And it's this perfect balance of both creepy and goofy, because the Imagineers designing it, they couldn't decide if they wanted to be creepy or goofy, so it's hey, why not do both? And the way it mixes those is perfect, because you go into this mansion, it's ooh, very creepy. It's an old mansion. You got this disembodied voice, the ghost host, and it's okay, this is getting more creepy. Then you see the portraits hanging, stretching. It's okay, I should not be here. Hanging body. This was a mistake to be here, but now it's too late. You get on the doom buggies, which are the vehicles, and everything. Take a tour through the haunted mansion. You're seeing all this creepy stuff, but no ghosts yet until Madame Leota comes and summons the ghosts. You see them in the ballroom. Then you see the scene with the bride, who should have been the movie's villain, by the way, because she's
and also, just gonna pop in here, Will. Gonna help you out a little bit. The music.
Oh
my lord, the music.
No, wrong movie.
But
I moved into the mansion. Now it's an even thousand. But okay. The music is really good, and Leota just floating around with the instruments around her is so much better than Eddie Murphy being there.
Yeah. But then after Leota, after she summons the ghost, and you get to the ballroom scene where you see the actual ghost for the first time, but then you go into the attic where you see the bride, who is the creepiest character.
Oh yeah,
bride, because of how she basically killed the mansion's owner for money and But then you go into the graveyard scene, and that's when you see the ghosts in their full glory. And you see these guys aren't that bad. They are happy haunts. They are enjoying themselves. Sure, the bride has some sinister motivations behind her, but everyone else, they're just having a good time in their afterlife and everything. It's not so bad. So towards the end of the ride, when the ghost says, by the way, there are these hitchhiking ghosts who will follow you home should you decide to join us, it's like, you know what? Maybe that wouldn't be such a bad idea. Maybe I'd like to spend all of eternity here in this mansion partying with these ghosts. Keep me away from the bride, but the rest of these ghosts, they're pretty cool.
I mean, to be fair, you see all these very creative designs, and you got to remember, holy crap, none of this is CG. None of this is a screen. It's all these moving tricks. I mean, there might be screens now that now that we're in the modern age.
I mean, in the Magic Kingdom version, they use projections for the hitchhiking ghosts.
Okay, but that's okay. That makes them look ghostly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the whole situation of so much creativity put into this. You see, the graveyard scene is paying tribute to that, and the dancing scene is paying tribute to the ride as well. So if you like those scenes in the movie, the ride is basically hey, all those points where Neil was saying there's potential here? Yeah, we just are that. We are the potential.
Yeah. And you know what makes the Haunted Mansion ride so good? Because they focus on the ghosts, not the humans. The ghosts are the main focus.
There is one human, though.
Oh, yeah, but he's not even the main focus. His focus is how scared he is of all the ghosts.
And he's got a dog. Because if you have a successful Disney ride, you got to have a dog in it.
A dog
whether it be a dog holding keys, or whether it be a dog
with anorexia.
Yeah. I was going to say a dog next to a lantern, but
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken as a dog. Bow wow. Bow wow.
Bow wow.
Okay. But the ride is absolutely wonderful. And I do want to briefly touch on the crappy version, which is when Christmas or Halloween comes around, especially Halloween, when you're yes, Will.
I think the holiday version is actually really good and a lot of fun. I just have a problem that they do it during Halloween time.
Oh yeah, that upsets me too. If they did it only around Christmas, I'd be okay with it. But since they do it around Halloween, when I would want to ride the Haunted Mansion, it upsets me a bit.
Don't worry, Neil. They only do that in California. They don't do that here in Florida.
That's the real terror.
Dope. So for those of you who don't know, around Christmas and Halloween time, Nightmare Before Christmas takes over the Haunted Mansion area.
Mm-hmm.
Really impressive redesign.
Specifically Disneyland, not ours, thankfully.
And instead of it being all the other characters, I think Madame Leota is still in it. But besides it being all the ghosts we know and love, it's the characters from Haunted Mansion. It's the characters from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Which is quite
Who
cool.
look awesome, by the way. Their animatronics look amazing.
Look, man, I'm not a fan. I like how everything looks. I think it's cool. But if you wanted to make a Nightmare Before Christmas ride, make a Nightmare Before Christmas ride.
But see, here's the problem with that, Neil. Nightmare Before Christmas, a ride based on that, you're kind of digging yourself into a hole there. Because it's specifically a seasonal-based property.
I understand that. But it has such a huge fan base at this point. You know there would be people writing it every month of the year. And even if they weren't, that just means you're going to get even more people coming in around the holidays.
I don't know. I think it just makes more sense to have...
people don't have to pick. Go ahead, Cal.
I don't know. I think it just makes more sense to have the Night Before Christmas cast and Tim Burton just take over the Haunted Mansion for the seasons, because it makes sense for seasonal reasons, especially during Christmas time. And it's an impressive redesign. I mean, the way they make it exactly like the aesthetics of the Tim Burton movie, it's really impressive how they managed to redesign the whole thing in the same park, mind you.
And you know what would be cooler, Callum? If you could ride the ride whenever you want and not be limited by seasonal things.
That's why I'm glad I live here in Florida. Where they
but at the same time, if you wanted to ride the Nightmare Before Christmas version, you just can't. But you're okay with that because obviously Haunted Mansion is better. And
also,
go ahead.
Is it okay if I go off on a tangent outside of Nightmare Before Christmas?
Go ahead.
Okay. So what makes the Haunted Mansion, well, one of the things that makes Haunted Mansion so great is because of how ambiguous the story is. And this is another one of my frustrations with the movie. It has been proven that a more linear story with the Haunted Mansion can indeed work. And that has been proven with the Haunted Mansion that's closest to Callum called Phantom Manor.
Yes.
Specifically. Because that has a much more linear storyline, which involves a similar theme. It's basically this rich gold miner who may or may not have founded the Big Thunder Mining Company, but that's something for another video entirely.
Big Thunder Mountain.
His daughter was to marry like a railroad engineer, didn't approve of that, killed the boyfriend, daughter went crazy. So yeah, that's a more linear story that's actually very similar to the movie in a lot of ways, and they made it work. They made it freaking work.
Just goes to show that without Eddie Murphy, the Haunted Mansion could have been pretty good. But I think we've talked about the ride a bit. And by the way, one thing I'm going to touch on. So many iconic characters in this ride.
Oh, yeah. Like, literally, I'm sorry, Neil.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, first off, you touched on the ghost host, who is creepy, but what I especially like about the ghost host is that you never know if he's actually evil or if he's just, like, playing it up.
Yeah, he could be a trickster like all the other ghosts.
Like, there's things like when you encounter the bride, which, by the way, the bride would have also made him for her whole story, that would have made for a great Haunted Mansion movie too, because I'm pretty sure I touched on this already in the video, but one of the few things about Haunted Mansion mythos that is, like, canonical, officially confirmed, is that bride killed the original owner of the Haunted Mansion, beheaded him for his money, and did the same thing to a bunch of other rich men. So having a movie about her, that would have been pretty cool. But that's beside the point. So after the her scene, you kind of fall out of the attic into the graveyard, yet miraculously you survive. I actually saw one person suggest that maybe the ghost host like caught your fall or something, even though he wasn't supposed to be present during that scene. So you never know what his true intentions are, and that's what makes him so fascinating. But also another character, like the Haunted Mansion characters are so iconic that probably the biggest news around Disneyland's 60th anniversary was bringing back one of the old Haunted Mansion characters who was retired for years, the Hatbox Ghost.
Mm-hmm. I think I actually did art of the Hatbox Ghost, where Callum's head is in the thing.
that was really funny.
That makes too much sense. But yeah, I mean, the fact that a character...
That's on screen now.
Oh, look at that.
Look at all of that head in a jar. Look at that head.
Yeah. But bottom line, the fact that a singular character from the Haunted Mansion who you only see for like a few seconds was such a big deal that he was a huge centerpiece of Disneyland's 60th anniversary. That goes to show you how much people love this ride and how great these characters are, even though you only see them for a few seconds.
They're bringing back the I think they're called Sky Carts or Skylines or something. They're bringing that back, and on like the side they've got like Mickey, they've got Donald, they've got Goofy, and then they got the hitchhiking ghosts.
Oh, there you go.
So they thought, oh, well, we need a fourth one. Forget about Minnie. Hitchhiking ghosts.
Yeah.
all of these like characters also have like fan theories and lore to them. It's neat.
After you guys finish watching this video, I highly recommend going on the Haunted Mansion wiki. There is some fascinating stuff on there.
There is like they can get FNAF a run for their money. There's some stuff there, man.
Oh, FNAF is bullshit.
Hey!
Now,
You're mocking my people.
I will say,
Especially compared to the Haunted Mansion.
I much respect to Scott Cawthorne with how he managed to come up with it. Really inspiring stuff, but yeah, FNAF is beating a dead horse.
I'll kill all of you.
Mm-hmm.
I love you, Scott. Put me in your next game.
God bless you, Scott, but please just
Let
stop.
me be killed by an animatronic, please.
Wait, which animatronic? The one from FNAF or the one from the Haunted Mansion?
Both. That's freaking Scott's new game, Haunted Mansion.
Okay.
But now, ladies and gents, it is time for Neil's merch review.
Yay!
So this time, of course, like the gift shop has a name, and even the gift shop has lore, doesn't it?
I think so. I forgot. I think it has something to do with Madame Leota. I'll have to look that up.
Well, what's the name of it again? We said it earlier.
Memento Mori.
Memento Mori. Right. When you go into Memento Mori, first of all, let me just preface this by saying, hey, there's a lot of cool stuff in here. There are statues of some of the characters. You can get some of the ghosts in the ride vehicles, which I always think is cool.
Really sweet T-shirts, none of which fit me for some reason.
And just some cool art pieces. But the thing we are highlighting today, what I realized is when I recommended the Peter Pan statue, it's not very cheap. So today I have decided to get you a cheaper item. This is about $9. You can get it at Memento Mori. And what it is a photo of yourself with corrupted ghost traces. You can see these images in the Haunted Mansion. Callum's got it on screen right now. There it is.
All right.
In the ride itself, you can see these like portraits, these paintings. And as you walk by them, they become corrupted. What if I told you, Will, you could have a picture of yourself that does the exact same thing? Yep. For about $8, you can go have your picture taken, and you can even buy a frame. If you just want the picture, it's $8. But you get this nice picture of yourself as a ghost, and I'm not sure if there are like alternate options and colors and stuff, but I think alone it's pretty cool. Also, there's a ton of like Funko Pops that are exclusively about the Haunted Mansion that are only sold at Disneyland.
Nice.
So
Madame Leota stuff.
So Ron.
Yes, Ron would avoid that. Ron would step in and be like, "Oh, cool! I can get my picture taken." Oh no, back to the wood.
Y'all can keep y'all stupid ghosty photo.
And then for the rest of the day, freaking Ron just hangs out at Country Bear Jamboree because that's the closest thing to the woods. That's gone now.
No. The closest thing to the woods would the Jungle Cruise count as woods?
Oh yeah, he becomes part of the natives in the Jungle Cruise ride.
Neil, you realize the racial implications of that, right?
No, because Ron would be laughing if he was here.
Very true.
There is no racist intent. Ron would rise to the ranks of the natives, and he would become the number one. Besides, the natives are going to be in the Jungle Cruise ride movie. So I think we can say the natives. It's part of the ride. I'm not racist.
I don't know. You mispronounced my last name. You mispronounced Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
I can't say Guillermo del Toro. And with that, we move on to final thoughts. What do you guys think about the Haunted Mansion, whether it be the ride, the fandom, or the movie? Will.
You know, whenever certain people talk about schlocky action movies, they refer to them as theme park rides. And you know what? I agree with that that comparison to an extent because, I'm a huge theme park guy, but I can admit most of theme parks is schlock. But rides, every now and then, there's a ride like the Haunted Mansion that proves that theme park rides can be a higher form of art. So much so that they can even be better than certain movies. And I think that's pretty much all that needs to be said.
Will, stop insulting the movie. Eddie Murphy is haunting me, and he is going to kill me. He's gonna get me, Will. And he's gonna like leave blood on the wall, like, you should have liked the movie.
Mr. Murphy, if it makes you feel any better, I just want to say I really loved you in the first two Shrek movies. I even really liked you in Shrek 4, if I'm going to be honest. And I also really loved you in Trading Places and Coming to America. I thought you were fantastic in those.
Shrek 2. Love Shrek 2.
Shrek 2.
Love Shrek 2. Like Shrek 1. Really like Shrek 4. Like, seriously, Shrek 4 does not get enough love. It's actually...
I also kind of like Shrek 4.
Oh, really?
I don't love Shrek 4, but I like Shrek 4. Me, what are your thoughts? Well, I think the movie is bad, but I've already talked about how much potential it holds. I really hope it gets another chance. They recently announced that there's going to be a Percy Jackson TV series on Disney+. And my response to that is, okay, you're taking these old travesties and you're going to try to make them good again. Haunted Mansion is still there. Haunted Mansion is still there being terrible. Why don't you grab that?
And why don't you make Guillermo del Toro direct it?
That would be great. But in terms of the ride, like here's the bottom line, and I will not say this a ton. I think that there needs to be a movie about this ride because we've seen the potential. There is so much lore about the ride. There is so much coolness to be had. The ride on its own is great, but a movie could be great too. Just imagine something to boost it up. Look at what Pirates of the Caribbean did for the ride. Oh yeah. Just Disney, don't sleep on this. And I guess to the fans out there, hey, if this is your first episode of the show, please comment any bit of the lore. I want to get into this. I am a FNAF nerd by trade, so I love deep lore that isn't necessarily clear at first glance. So please comment everything. And a ride that can affect people this much, like the movie doesn't affect people nearly as much as the ride. No. So by that token, I think movie or no movie, this is definitely a winner.
My, I really ought to go to that ride next time I go.
Also,
to
that is one of the best gift shops in Disney World, damn it. Go ahead, Callum.
Did we get to count? Yeah.
Yeah, I really ought, judging by this conversation, I really ought to go on the ride next time I get to Disneyland, Paris.
Me too, buddy. Me too.
And if I were to say another thing, there's this YouTuber named Animat, Electric Dragon 505, and he made a list of other Disney villains. And number one, he placed that bride from the Haunted Mansion as number one because he found her really scary.
She is scary. She's creepy as hell.
Is she creepier than like Jafar? Okay. She's really scary. I'll give it to her.
Okay. Neil, can I please do the outro?
Well, first, we have to move on to the final question. If you were a ghost in the Haunted Mansion, what would you want to be doing? Because all of these ghosts are doing very different things. Some of them are on teeter-totters. Some of them are holding hat boxes. And some of them just really need to catch a cab. What would you want your ghost to be?
I think because I love to read, so one of my favorite literary genres is actually gothic horror. So I think I want to be the librarian of that library, which is apparently well stocked with priceless first editions. Only ghost stories, of course. So I would want to be the librarian there. That would be pretty cool.
That's a good pick, Will. I would like to be in the kitchen scene. Specifically, I want to be wearing a shirt that says Hawkeye is the best Avengers, and in one hand holding a Captain Marvel doll, which is on fire, and the other one holding a breadstick, throwing it into the trash can.
Before we move on,
and that's my animation. That's my animatronic in the ride. Disney, make it happen. Insult your own property with Captain Marvel. Please.
Neil is a sexist, confirmed.
I'm not a sexist. It's a bad movie.
Neil, I should notice that previously in our Peter Pan episode, you said, and it might not have been exact, but you said Peter Pan swoops in like Captain Marvel singing the songs. You said something positive about Captain Marvel.
No, I didn't. I said something positive about Avengers Endgame, which that movie is from. I said it about TikTok Croc, and even though I dislike the character of Captain Marvel, she did indeed swoop in that scene. So, it wasn't positive. It was merely a statement. I hate that movie. I hate that movie so much.
So if I were a ghost, I mean, I would think probably more time to read all the books, but Will's taken that job, so I think I'll say, okay, for the sake of the atmosphere and because of who I am, maybe I'll just be a preacher, perhaps.
Callum, I'm just gonna be honest here. You would be perfect as like a ghost that would actually scare people, like jump out of the shadows and everything.
You know what?
You're actually right.
Maybe Callum is like a cameo situation where Callum is throughout the ride impersonating other ghosts.
That would make so much sense.
No, honestly, Callum, I say this with the utmost love when I say this, but if you were to suddenly pop out of existence with a creepy face and a high-pitched shriek, I would honestly jump out of my ride vehicle.
And you say you don't like Five Nights at Freddy's. That's the whole game! All right. We're going to lead into your outro, good William. But first, I have something to say.
What?
If you like our show, subscribe if you dare, because we always will be there. Will, Callum, Neil, and their show. Watch it even though it blows, or we'll kill you and bury you in a hole.
You did the outro.
It wasn't as good as the other one.
I was going to do the outro.
I did one outro. You can do another. We can do two outros.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to do it the correct way.
Yeah, you do it the correct way while I just cry.
If you would like to join our jamboree, there's a simple rule that's compulsory. Viewers pay a token fee. Please subscribe and like and share. So hurry back, we would like your company.
Wait a minute, hold on. Like, subscribe, and share. That was the line from earlier.
There we go.
I remember. Hold on. Watch our videos if you dare. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Neil, Callum, and Will. Watch it now or we will kill all of you. Just go to Salutatics and subscribe.
I just did the dump scare there.
Hurry back. Hurry back. Be sure to ring that notification bell.
Eddie Murphy killed me off screen 3 weeks later. Goodbye.
As of premiering this is a new show. If you want this show to shine like the second star to the right, please share this with friends. And encourage them to tune in during their spare time. Thank you for listening.
You've been watching Disney+Pals. Thank you for watching. Please share this with your friends for more fun and magic.